Kia ora koutou katoa. O hu te kai kōrero no Māori mō te hapori tūhononga o Aotearoa and Māori speaker for Community Networks Aotearoa. Nō reira kia koutou katoa. Nau mai, ara mai, kia hui mai katoa tātou katoa. Mā koe tingata tō tātou hui, e karakia mō tātou, I tēnei pō. Kia tingata niha tō tātou karakia I rota te inua te matua te tama o ki me te wairua tau. Ake tangu, āmine. E pāne moki mātua I mi a tanu ki a koe. Mā hau tunga awhi mā ki te ia mātua nea wākatoa. Ko ke hea, ke te whea wahi, te hea tōpi tō te ao rātau e mahi ana. E mua he tanu tātou ke ta hari tonu te ngākau ki ngā mahi katoa I wainga nei a rātau. Nō reira kāreo pira kia tōro hoki nā mihi me te inua I atu kia koe. E pā ki rota I te inua te matua tama hoki me te wairua tapu. Ake tonu. Āmine. Nō ora mai kia ora koutou katoa.
It's me, and I will introduce myself in a moment. Oh, I should introduce myself now. I'm Ross Rice. I'm the Executive Officer of the Community Networks Aotearoa. Back in the day, many years ago, we used to be called the New Zealand Council of Social Services, for those of you that remember way back then. But now, and for some years, we have been a group of networks throughout the Motu. And one of the things that Paddy, where he is, likes to say is that we're mum and dad, the networks are our kids, and their networks are our grandkids. All care, no responsibility for the grandkids, but we reach out to them through our networks and they reach back to us. So we have this massive ability to reach across the country and down into communities.
Nice.
And that's where a lot of this work has come from. Mm-hmm. Now, I've got some housekeeping notes, of course. So I asked Paddy if he'd do the air hostess thing, and he said no. Where's my glasses? Excuse me. Thanks, Dave. I forget that I can't see. In the event of a fire alarm, please make your way up the main entrance, do not use the lifts, and please do not run. Exit the building and follow instructions from wardens or library staff or security people who will be outside. In the event of an earthquake, drop, cover and keep away from windows. Do not run outside, there may be falling debris. Once the shaking has stopped, please wait for instructions from library staff or security. This is one of the safest buildings in Wellington, so it's usually safer to remain inside. However, if the safety of the building is compromised, National Library staff will advise on the appropriate evacuation procedure. In the event of any other alert or emergency, please stay calm and await instructions from the library staff or security. Exits are located on the left of reception is just up there, through the home cafe over there, down the stairs and through the Aitken Street entrance, and of course through the entrance you came through. Unisex toilets are located through the stairwell doors in the foyer to the left of the silver lifts, just over there. Okie dokie. The order of what we're going to do now is, first off, we're going to have a speech from our chairperson, Holly Snake. Following that, Holly is going to introduce Honourable David Parker, Attorney General, and just on the speech. Yeah? Yeah. And following David's speech, I'm going to pop up again and I'll introduce to you our researcher, Dr. Jane Horan. And after Jane has spoken, I'm going to come up and just do a quick visual presentation of the highlights of the research that we've done. So thanks everybody for coming, we really appreciate it. I believe the traffic is insane out there tonight, so For all of you who had to fight through the traffic, apologies, but thanks for coming anyhow. And I would now like to introduce to you the most incredible woman. Holly Snape is the chair of CNA's board. She is also the CEO of one of our networks called Community Waikato. Holly?
Thank you, Roz. So I'll have my speech for that, but it's all good. Yeah, no problem at all. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Holly Snape taka ingoa from Community Waikato, but also I'm proudly the chair of Community Networks Aotearoa. And I'm here really to take a moment to thank everybody for their contributions to this research, starting of course with all of you for coming here tonight. Research in the not-for-profit sector is a true anomaly, to be fair. The not-for-profit sector doesn't often have the opportunity to undertake in-depth research. It's costly, it takes time, it often isn't considered very sexy to the funders, but it's also fundamental to drive evidence-based change and to support advocacy that is so desperately needed in our sector. So I really want to acknowledge the support that we receive from both J.R. Mackenzie Trust and from the Todd Foundation for funding this research. And I also want to acknowledge the funding that we get from the MSD that allows us to do the work that we do right across the country. I also want to thank Jane. The hours and hours you have spent interviewing people, transcribing interviews, I've done that, I know how much time that takes, analysing data and pulling together this research. There's so much work in this, and you've been an absolute pleasure to work with. We truly value the expertise you've brought along to this project. Paddy and Roz, not sure where Paddy is, hiding at the back. You've both dedicated so much of your time and passion to this project. You've been strategic in the connections that you've been able to make and the conversations that you had that now connects our sector and the issues that we experience to those in government and other places of influence. So thank you for all that you've both done. You make our tiny team seem truly Goliath. Research, like I said, research like this is critical for our sector. You know, every hour that we spend in the not-for-profit sector on administration and mandated processes, it's time that we don't spend doing our mahi. It's time that we are not feeding children. It's time we're not knitting socks or holding hands with somebody in hospice or designing community-based solutions for housing or digging over a community garden, coaching kids' sports, or settling a traumatised family into a refuge. The work we do is vast and is fundamentally important to well-being. And while administration is certainly a part of that work, it should be streamlined, it should be relevant, and it should be purposeful. Wasting time on filling in the wrong paperwork or driving a 4-hour round trip to change a signatory, this is lost time, and lost time becomes lost impact. And impact is at the absolute heart of everything that we do. So thank you for investing in us. Thank you for participating in our research for those that have. And thank you for being here to share with us in the findings. And I'm confident that with good information and with shared objectives that we can work together on solutions that facilitate better banking systems for everybody. And I now have the pleasure to introduce to you the speaker for this evening. He's a long-standing politician, a dedicated minister in the Labour government and our Attorney General, the very Honourable David Parker. Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou katoa, everyone. Can I acknowledge my parliamentary colleagues who are here? I should go first to the Minister, Duncan Webb. I'm going to actually ask Duncan to just say a few words at the end of this, because he's got some ministerial responsibilities that touch upon this, and actually getting him to give it a wee push might actually help it being pushed into reality. Ricardo Mendes March, thank you for coming along. I've had a memory blank. Jan Logie, sorry Jan. Jan Logie from the Greens, very long serving member and Jan knows me well enough to know that that's not the first name I've ever forgotten in the panic of the moment. I see someone that I haven't seen, you were out of my eyesight when I was sitting there, I see you turn up and I think, oh, and I panic and I can't catch your name. So I apologise for that, Jan. Are there any other MPs here who I haven't acknowledged? That's a good turnout. There's a lot of things that happen in Parliament any parliamentary night. We have duties that go all night, and we have a lot of events that are on in every dinner break, as well as the need occasionally to eat. So getting 4 members of Parliament along to an event like this shows that you have sympathy and support from politicians to help you achieve your aims. I know Ros Rice from years ago in Dunedin in a non-governmental organisation, and I ran into Ros and she said that this work was coming out, expressed a bit of frustration about getting government to engage in the issue, and said, would I meet with her? And I said, sure, because I know what community networks Aotearoa do, and I respect the role of environmental and social and other NGOs in society. I have more contact in my current roles with the environmental NGOs, but I know that you all struggle for both volunteers. There's lots of pressures upon people's time, and you don't want to waste your time on form filling and going around in circles trying to do what used to be easy, which has become harder. And I know it wasn't, even back in the day, it actually wasn't easy to update signatories for bank accounts for small organisations. And I know back in the day, in some ways it was easier because I can remember the post office would open an account for anyone. They saw that as one of their roles. And now just about everyone tries to avoid accounts that they don't think are viable or are difficult to run. Ros came to see me, gave me a draft copy of the report, which you can see wasn't even bound at that point. And when I read it, I could just feel the frustration of the people who were interviewed, and I thought some of the quotes that are highlighted in the report, such as getting the legal structure set up was easy, the hard part is getting a bank account. This shouldn't be the hardest part of changing the world. Lots of other comments where people are saying it's sort of so time consuming and energy sapping, and it should be easier than that. Ros at the time told me that it's quite hard to get funding for research projects like this, as opposed to the delivery of services for people who need them. And therefore I do say my thanks to the J.R. Mackenzie Trust, who saw the importance of this work and were the principal sponsor of it. That was a wise decision of the trustees of that trust to support this important work. In respect of Jane's talk, Jane, I do hope that you tell the little story, the hopeful story, as well as the frustrations, that maybe technology can help solve this. Final point I'll make, because you're not here to hear me, you're here to talk about the study. Just before I hand over to Duncan, just for a couple of words, what was I going to say is my fault? Oh no, people in this room, including me and Duncan and Jan and Ricardo. We do have some power within society, and we interact with the banks. And I count as personal friends some people who've got quite senior roles in banks, and they're good people. They want to do the right thing too, and so we can all, we can lend our weight to helping this be advanced as well, just by talking to people. Duncan, can I just get you to jump up to talk a little bit about what you're doing about consumer rights and some other things that might help achieve the outcomes that we all want. Thank you, I won't get that.
Look, I haven't come on here. I would say thanks for the invitation to speak, but you didn't invite me. David told me 2 minutes ago he was going to do this. But it is one of my privileges is to be the Minister of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, and I do have very frequent contact with the banks. And some things hit the headlines because they're headline grabbing, like the study we're doing in respect of bank profits and so on, and competition. But there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes on that is way more important. And and I think what we need to do in this sector, and it's one that I really can understand, is a bit more of the nudge. And I'll give you an example of the nudge. When the cyclones hit, and the banks came to us and said, we need better rules so we can get money to these people who need it, we came to the party. And then whilst we were kind of loosening the rules for the special purpose, we said, we expect that you won't be making any money on this, right? We expect you won't be charging your usual interest rates. And Westpac, to its credit, I wouldn't usually name them, put names in, but came out first and said our loans are interest free for people affected by the cyclone. There's $10,000 advances and so on. And every other trading bank came out and did the same thing. Now that did not require an iron fist. Quite the opposite. It required an understanding of what they needed, and what they genuinely came in there with an understanding that there was need and that they wanted to meet it. And so we were able to see, many millions of dollars go out to people who needed it in short order for free, and that was a great thing. And I think this is somewhere where we need a bit of nudge as well. Every time I meet with a banker, one of the questions I ask them is, what are you doing for vulnerable and unbanked people who struggle to open a bank account? And some of them have good policies, some of them have acceptable policies, and some don't. And I push them on that. And I think that's what we've absolutely got to do. I thought it when I went to to change my signature on the Labour Party Christchurch Central branch account, that the difficulty was because it was the Labour Party. It turns out it was something shared by the entire not-for-profit sector. But I absolutely endorse the work you're doing, and I have read some of this paper and looked at all the pictures, and I really understand and appreciate what's going on. What you've done is actually equipped me to have conversations with banks about how they are servicing the not-for-profit sector and the communities of which they are part more widely. And I endorse what David said. The people who run these banks, by and large, want to do good. They want to run a successful business, and they want to serve their communities. And one of the things we can do is educate them on how to do that. So, kia ora koutou katoa. Thank you.
Two cabinet ministers, job done. Now we just have to talk to the National Party. Isn't it St. Louise at the back? I've been looking for Louise upstairs.
No.
She's not come. I just haven't been able to see people. My job now is not only to thank the two of you so much for your support, your understanding of the work that we're doing, and your decision that you need to help a bit to make things better. We're not going to ask for the world, we're just simply going to ask for collaborations that make win-wins. And we mean that with the banks as well. We want to collaborate with the banks so that everybody wins. So we could talk a little bit more about that, but first off, I think I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Jane Horan. Now, Jane is an economic anthropologist, an associate from Burl, a lecturer at AUT, and an all-in-all good woman. And she is going to talk to you a little bit about the job that she did and how she got to it and what was involved. Jane.
Kia ora koutou katoa. So I'm an economic anthropologist, and many of you may be wondering what that is. So basically the difference between me and an economist is that rather than starting with the economy as the focus of research, I'm about how human beings live in economies and how the economy is about people and the environment. So I'm in an interesting position to do this particular type of work. So CNA have been listening to the many thousands of not-for-profits and their networks. So CNA, this has been one of the interesting things about this research, CNA is a unique organisation because they literally have this vast network that they communicate to, but also who they hear from. And it comprises mostly the smaller entities in the not-for-profit sector, so the Tier 3 and Tier 4 sized organisations. So Tier 3 is under 2 million annual operating expenses, Tier 4 is under 140,000 operating payments. So CNA had been hearing for some time about how so many of these organisations were having real problems accessing and using banking services and products, to the extent that these organisations and the phenomenal work that they do to look after and support the people and environment of Aotearoa New Zealand are effectively being overlooked by banks. Now that's a strong statement, but I think the research attests to that. These organisations constitute a customer segment in the banking sector that is routinely experiencing not great customer service. For example, if a new organisation is trying to set up their new bank account, or an existing one wants to change their signatories on their accounts, these processes are too often random and haphazard. It's a matter of luck if you can avoid a lengthy, protracted process to get these over the line. So Tier 3 and Tier 4 sized not-for-profits are not the biggest share of the monetary contribution to the broader not-for-profit sector. But the movement of money in this part of the sector is still significant, and they make up the bulk of the activity in the sector. They constitute the very fabric of our society and our economy. So how these two merge together is really important. They are the environment groups, they are the community support organisations, the sports clubs, they are the healthcare organisations that deliver government contracts, and they are the organisations that educate, support and advocate for families, children and young people. They are Māori organisations, churches and their community outreach charitable trusts. They are the knitting clubs and the other interest groups, and they are the first and last responders to disasters, and the ones who stay after the big guys have left because they are integral parts of every single community across the motu. And they all need functional bank accounts to do their mai. So CNA launched an online survey back in April 2022, and then I came into the project supported by funding from the Todd Foundation and the J.R. Mackenzie Trust to analyse the survey data and then to do a series of interviews with organisations and stakeholders to get the gritty detail of the issues the sector are facing, so the good and the bad. So we did 26 interviews with 27 individuals from 36 different Tier 3 and Tier 4 organisations. So we've got really good data on 130 organisations. And then we also did 13 stakeholder interviews, which gave us some more context. So it was an incredible privilege to speak with the not-for-profits, in particular to hear about the work they're doing and the issues they're having with getting their banking sorted. So Ros will talk more about what we found in a moment, but I just want to flag how much effort and time it takes these smaller community and social service organisations to get their banking sorted and how onerous it actually can be. And how this is tying up hours and hours that should be being used for the impact these not-for-profits do in our society and our economy. Paid and volunteer work time, but especially the volunteer time of trustees who do the governance in the sector, is being co-opted by the randomness, and that's not a word I use lightly either, it is randomness, of the customer service offering that banks give this part of the sector. One participant in the research, whose newly formed organisation is in the disability support and advocacy space, and had been working for 5 months to get their new bank account open when I spoke to him, said, "This shouldn't be the hardest part of saving the world," but actually, at the moment, it really can be. Many organisations are finding workarounds to not being able to change their signatories, for example. Some of them are verging on the illegal, but most organisations get banked eventually. This can be through sheer grit, determination and Herculean perseverance, and that's not hyperbole either, and or the emergence of what we're calling golden unicorns. But more about those in a minute. Ros will speak to those in a minute. So another participant whose organisation was in the youth support space said that if banks could reduce the time it takes them to get their signatories changed, for example, from say 40 hours, which it takes routinely at the moment, if not more, to say 3 hours, that constitutes 37 hours of time and money that the bank is giving back to the not-for-profit sector so they can get on and do more of their mahi. Another participant whose two organisations are both male in the male mental health services space talked about the sort of relationship he would like with his bank and the attitude he would love them to take towards his organisations and the mahi that they do. He said he'd love them to think like this: you didn't create a not-for-profit to spend all this time at the bank. Let's work together to get this done.
The story that David mentioned that he asked Jane to tell was the one where a bank in New Zealand has now enabled digital IDs so that people don't have to go into the bank, and their path was a lot smoother than many of the others. We know that a lot of the banks are actually working towards this, so that's good news, isn't it? So just 1 minute while I shuffle all this paperwork. So I thought I'd just introduce myself appropriately. Tēnā koutou katoa. Kua hui hui mai te tēnei rangi. E mihi ana, e mihi ana, e mihi ana. Ko ros toko ingoa. E mahi ana aho ki te hapori tu honua o Aotearoa. Papa. Hey, Executive Officer, aho. So I'm Ros Rice, the Executive Officer of Community Networks Aotearoa, and what I'm going to be doing is a short form of what the report is on my presentation. First of all, I just want to take the opportunity to thank a few people, because this is a great chance to do so. To Patrick, Dan and Lydia, Dan and Patrick are here, my incredibly hard-working colleagues, thank you. To my amazing board for your unwavering support, thank you. To my exceptional chairperson and CEO of Community Waitakere, Holly Snape.
Waikato.
What did I say?
Waitakere.
Oh!
It's okay, it's not the first one.
I thought it was mine. Thank you for everything you do. To Liz Davies, CEO of Social Link Tauranga. Liz is here somewhere. They're over there. Social Link Tauranga and the Eastern Bay of Plenty. To Mark Allen, CEO of Community Waitakere. That's why I did it. It's here. To Andrew Lilburn, Manager of Taupo Council of Social Services, and Fiona Brennan, CEO of Auckland North Community and Development. They will ask CNA at a meeting to lead this work. To Kerry Dalton, over there, CEO of Citizens Advice Bureau New Zealand. To Brett Jeffrey, CEO of AUSE, and to the two ex-chairs who have joined him tonight. And to Jim Datson, co-chair of the Funding Institute in New Zealand, all put their name and supported this work. Thank you. Huge thanks. Without all of you, we wouldn't have got to this point, and it shows that this research is truly supported by the community and voluntary sector. So now on to the nitty-gritty, which I will try not to bore you with too much. So, here we go. Which one do I use? That one. My chairperson's already mentioned our fantastic funders. My thanks also to these amazing supporters. Thank you so much. We gathered here because we're being told by our membership how difficult it was for small community groups to do their banking. The research is focused on Tier 3 organisations whose annual income is less than 2 million annual operating expenses, and the Tier 4 organisations who have less than 140,000 annual operating payments. The little guys, but the no less important guys, the core of our communities. We've found two main reasons for these problems our sector is experiencing. One is how the banks interpret and put into place anti-money laundering and the countering of financing of terrorism legislation, and the other is customer service issues. Addressing the AML, that's the anti-money laundering, addressing the AML issues, there are two main sub-issues. The first is proof of identity, and don't get me wrong, NFPs, not-for-profits, understand the need for a robust AML regime. We do. However, banks have different ways of checking this, because it seems tellers are basically the first port of call, and in some places, the only port of call. And when information goes up to middle management, we've found they're required to call the person they are IDing to come back in person to do some more. I know you filled all this out, but actually there's another document. That sort of thing. Go away, fix that, come back. The trouble is, this happens over and over again. We have like stories of people who've gone back to banks 5, 6 times just to try and change signatories, because every time they've gone to a different teller, and the next teller has told them a different thing. How many people here have experienced and had multiple callbacks to banks? There you go. Most banks also insist on all trustees and committee members or governance groups to all come in at once. How many people have experienced that? Okay. There is no, I'm going to do a wrap here. This is for no other reason than bank convenience, and it is an unreasonable request for many reasons. For many reasons that I won't go into here. But not only that, due to what I previously mentioned, those callbacks can happen over and over again. Risk assessment and compliance. Most bank tellers that our small organisations encounter don't themselves seem to understand or know about AML CFT rules. And my question is, why should they? They're not legislation experts. But add in the issue that those staff can be massively fined for AML, CFT inaccuracies. That stress on tellers must be huge. And that's something that we're going to be working with the Ministry of Justice to try and make an amendment somewhere in, that is more reasonable in the changes to the AML Act. The ID process for our governance boards makes life hard, but again, I can't stress enough, we do understand the importance of AML legislation, but it is that many examples we've got of lost paperwork, inconsistent information, not being able to find anywhere any information on what we should do. Where do you go to get that info? And the actual customers, and it is that part of the actual customer service offering that is the most problematic. From this list, I'd like to point out some of the major customer service issues. Most of these issues are about bank tellers, and sometimes their managers, not understanding the system themselves. But all these issues are huge for our sector. If we can't bank, we can't operate. We can't pay our staff, our rent, or fund our services. I have an example of an organisation who had to get a loan to cover them because they couldn't get access to their bank accounts. But I would like to mention 2 major points. The banks seem to us to be siloed internally. Nothing new if you work in government. We don't think the AML team talk to the tellers, and the online banking team don't talk to the AML team, and the managers don't talk to the online team, or the AML team don't talk to the managers, whatever. But information just seems to disappear into a black hole. This mess when dealing with not-for-profits has left many people asking banks, do you in fact just not want to bank us? Are we seen as lost leading, or just not worth the effort? This is a serious question, because if we can't use bank accounts, we can't operate. Does there need to be legislation, I ask, to ensure banks to accept us as customers? And I've come across 2 banks now that I talked to personally who said, no, we will not bank not-for-profits. So it's out there already. Go on, you can do it. No, go the other way. Yeah, what's it's broken? That's okay, I can do it. But we're not here to criticise without putting thought towards solutions, because there are solutions. And they're solutions where we can all work together and everybody can win. Here they are. Dear banks, please have clear pathways to expert advice and assistance. Dear banks, we suggest every bank has a GU team. No, not a grassroots unity team, although... What about a golden unicorn team? Unicorns are rare, golden unicorns are very rare. These are people who understand the system, who have empathy, have knowledge about not-for-profits, are able to advise and help other bank staff, who are prepared to take on and help not-for-profits who are struggling through the system, and who are contactable. That would be bank staff prepared to prioritise an effective relationship with not-for-profits. Dear banks, please use technology better. It wouldn't cost much to add a not-for-profit info page to your website, like how to change signatories in 8 easy steps. Or here is the number to contact our GU team. Would that be too difficult? And does everyone here realise that each bank has their own interpretation of the AML-CFT Act? So it depends which bank you go to, how much runaround you get. Some are worse than others. How about we all work together with the Commerce Commission, the Ministry of Justice, the Banking Ombudsman, and whoever needs to be there to have one uniform interpretation? Surely this would make things easier for everyone. So where to from here? The main points are, we are working in collaboration with the Ministry of Justice and with banks and with other interested parties on amendments to the AML-CFT Act. And we really want to work in collaboration with interested banks on ways we can help with improving the issues that have risen through this report. I would like to take this opportunity to in fact thank the banking representatives who we've met over the past month. I think we've met representatives from 9 major banks. Your graciousness and your capacity to hear us without being defensive is so much appreciated. So please take a copy of our report with you if I haven't already forced you to take one. If you wish to download an online copy, take a photo. You can take a photo of that QR code, or you can contact us for an online PDF copy. If you want to talk to us more, please contact me at Community Networks Aotearoa, and we'll leave this page up until we go, so you can take contact details down. And of course, you can also find those contact details on the back of the hard copy report. I want to thank you all for your time and your generosity. Thank you for hearing what we have to say. Hopefully things are going to change for the better and everybody's going to feel okay about it. And I just want to say before I go, we really understand how tied banks are by their interpretations of the AML Act and how a lot of the things that are causing problems for us are due to their AML team's interpretation. So maybe we can make that easier and better too. We do understand that banks are under a lot of legislative constraint. So thank you for your time, and I'd like to call on Papa Julius to close this launch. Okay.
Okay, we've got a waiata folk.
Kia koutou katoa, e hari ko, ko tū ngā rō mātou, wai mani o koutou, ko rongo koutou nā kōrero. Haere, hari atu, ki tō rōpū, whakahua atu kia rātou. O reira, kia whakakapia o tātou huia nei. Nei waiata himene, mō tātou katoa. Ka waiata kia maria, hinei whakawhakai, whakameta mai, he whare tangata, hinei purotu, hinei nākau, hinei rangi mā.
rie, ko te whaia, ko te whaia, o te o.
Nō reira kia koutou katoa, no ora mai, ke whakakapia, he ino i ki tō tātou, ariki nui a i Ukraine. Nā hoki nā mea katoa. Nō reira pāmau e whakakapia te whōnei, whakamahia, tia ki ngā, nā whānau katoa, wānga nui te roa pūnei. Kāne noa e pīrangi ki a tō roa ki nā, nā ino i atu ki a koe, o pau hoki nā kaha mo nā mahi nei. Nō reira i roto i te ingoa tō tātou matua, tama hoki me te wairua tapu. Ake tonu. Āmene. Kia ora koutou katoa.
Thank you.